Okay, so I thought it would be a great idea to give some advice to people wanting to start a business in 2021. What gives me the right? Do I have a business? No, but just because I don't have a business right now doesn't mean I haven't started five. I know how to start a business. So this video is going to give you some insight, advice, um, on starting a business to help you be prepared. I think there's a lot of information out there, and I just always feel like there needs to be something that's less do this, and this, and more think about it like this. So my video is more of a think about it like this. And if you don't know me, I'm Brianna. My channel is about my entrepreneurship journey, but it's also about just like the development of the person during this journey, and I've wanted to share that process with other people in hopes of inspiring them, specifically moms and ambitious moms, because we need encouragement sometimes. So this video again is about starting a business in 2022. If you're interested in me, if you like me at the end of this video, please like my video and subscribe for more content on various topics related to entrepreneurship or just me in general. Okay, so I've got a good amount of advice here. I will start by saying that in 2021, I had planned to start a business to help people start their businesses. I didn't end up doing it because it didn't seem to support what I felt my highest purpose was at the time. So I have thought about this a lot, and this is some of what I would have used in my business. Now I've done blogs, I had a podcast, I did Mary Kay. I also started a more legitimate business in 2020, which became pretty successful, but it just stopped working for me. So I resigned at the end of September 2021, but I did make some money. It was like a real business, registered LLC, everything. So I've got the gamut of experience here. Okay, so my first piece of advice is to answer these questions or ask yourself these questions. Here are the first two. What do you do? And what is your offer? You need to be able to tell people what you do, what you have to offer, and you need to have a concise offer, a clear offer. So if my business is helping people start their businesses, when you say, hey, what do you do? I would say, I help people start their businesses. More specifically, I help people start their online businesses. And then as I get to know you, you get to know me, and you're more interested, you want to work with me, I need to have a clear idea of how you can work with me. I have a 3-session package. We meet every 2 weeks for 2 months, and whatever that would actually be. And the price is this. Or I do an express business planning session. It's $199. We take 4 to 5 hours to plan everything, and then you have a follow-up session a month later. I need to have a clear offer for you to consider to work with me. Maybe that offer doesn't work exactly for you, the customer, but that like you need to already have an idea of how people can work with you. I talked to somebody a couple months ago. It wasn't a coaching call, but I wanted to know what her business was. I'm always interested in people's businesses. And it was like 30 minutes into the call. I'm like, so what do you do? Like, what is the offer? And I was able to help her figure out what the problem was, why she couldn't tell me clearly what the offer was, which was really because she was leaning on this other product instead of believing in herself after she spent thousands on a certification. I was like, you spent this much money, you should have a product. It shouldn't be dependent on this other company, like you referring people to their products. You should have something to offer. So what do? Figure that out. And what is your offer? Okay, so next you need to ask, how will I administer the services? What is the product? So I said that you should have an offer. Well, you need to think about, how will you actually do the offer? If you're doing coaching calls, is it in person? Is it over Zoom, over the phone, email? What is it? When can you do it? When can they do it? Like, you need to think about how you actually doing a thing. Maybe you want to make tables. How will you get people the tables? Where will you get the lumber? So that leads into the next question. What do you need to administer the service? So yeah, what do you need to actually do the product? Do you need a sanitation certificate? Do you need lumber? That's part of that. I guess it's more of the first question, but this question, you need to think about the process from start to finish, and that will help you not to leave anything out. So the thing that happens when you start a business is you have an idea of the things that you need to pay attention to and the things that you need to prepare. And then as you're doing it, you will inevitably get hung up on something that you didn't foresee, and it just makes it more stressful than it has to be. It can be a lot of work. It is a lot of work, but sometimes the stress of it is not being prepared for that work. So this should help. So if I'm a coach, first of all, how are people going to contact me? Am I supposed to text you on your personal number? Do you have a business email? Am I finding you on social? Do you want me to DM you? Are we doing coaching, prospecting calls? Are we doing discovery calls? How will people contact you? What's the agreement? Do you actually need an agreement? What are the terms of your service? Like, what is your guarantee? What is your refund policy? Or like, what is your promise, basically? How will people pay you? Are you gonna do Cash App, PayPal, Stripe, cash, check? You need to think about that. How will you take payment? Or do you need a business bank account? If so, you're gonna need an EIN, which means you'll have to register your business and so forth. How are you going to get paid? And then how will you do the exchange? Again, is it Zoom? Are you driving the table to the person's house? Are you overnighting it? How are they coming to you to get their hair braided? Think about that. So if you can start from first contact to administering the product or delivering the product, that should cover a lot of the work that goes into getting your business started. And then the last of this type of question, and probably the most important, is how will people find you? I can't tell you the amount of times I have started something, launched something, and because people didn't show up, I thought that it was not good. When in reality, people just didn't know I was doing it. So in summer 2020, I launched a course. I think we sold 2. In February 2021, I launched a course, but I did all these additional things to increase awareness that we had something to offer. And I feel like, what was it? I think maybe the first week we made like $5,000 or something like that, because I actually put some effort into it. Now I know that that's like a paltry launch, but for us that was a great launch. So you have to put thought into how people will find you. You can't just expect them to find you. You have to put thought and effort into it. And you need to do that early. So if you're launching a business, you need to have thought about how are people going to be aware that you're launching a business, which isn't different than what I've been saying. But like, are you going to enlist friends to share your flyer, whatever it is? Are you going to show up on Pinterest with a blog for people to get information from? Are you going to do Google Ads? Are you going to hire affiliates? Are you going to find similar businesses to collaborate with? How are people going to find you? How are people going to know that you're doing it? Because if they don't know, it doesn't matter what you're doing. It doesn't matter how good your website is, how affordable your offer is. It just doesn't matter. And just because they don't find you doesn't mean whatever you're doing has no value. So maybe you don't do good on this part. Don't let that discourage you. Okay, I've got a couple other pieces of advice. In terms of how people will find you, a lot of people use social media. I advise pick one social media platform and pick the one that you're comfortable with. In my last business, we used Instagram, and I was in this like business group thing, something I had paid for, like a group coaching kind of thing. And I was trying to overcome Instagram, and the coach finally said, "It doesn't seem like you like Instagram." And I was like, I do not. I don't personally use Instagram. So me trying to figure it out was like, even no matter what I learned, I still didn't have an interest in it. And it was going to just continue to be a burden to do it. So I recommend using the platform that you're most comfortable with. And I feel like, even though for us, I feel like Instagram was the right place for us to be, what Facebook lacks in curb appeal, I might have been able to make up for in consistency and engagement, because that was a place I'm actually used to being. I will also advise these two things: be consistent and be authentic. So sometimes it's hard to be consistent because you're not being authentic and you're trying to be something that you think your audience wants you to be. And that's not easy to do. It's not really compelling because it's not you. So in that case, just be yourself. I had the problem of not being a part of the industry. I had a business partner. She was in the industry. I just saw an opportunity. But I was the one in charge of Instagram. So I'm like, how do I show up for them? What do they want me to be like? And I kept trying to be that, but I wasn't a part of the industry to really know what they wanted me to be. And I just wasn't confident in how I was showing up. And I eventually just decided to be myself. And then I eventually decided that my partner had to do the Instagram. So that kind of worked. But at any rate, you can allow people to dislike you, actual you, not dislike this fake version of yourself. Just be yourself. Use proper grammar as much as you can, like spell stuff right. But if you don't, just talk like yourself. My partner was always worried about, she always felt like I was more articulate. And I'm like, I am more articulate, but the way you talk is charming because it's you. You are comfortable talking the way that you talk. So just keep doing that, because it's more important that you are comfortable and relatable and engaging than it is that you are grammatically correct. So I said use the right grammar. I just mean, like, don't be on there illiterate, but don't worry so much about being perfect. Okay, my other piece of advice is to start where you are. And by that I mean, use the resources you have and the skills you have. Start there. So right now I'm filming this video on my iPhone. I started YouTube on my iPhone. I actually waited until I got the iPhone XR in 2018 to start my YouTube channel. Well, I guess partly because the camera on my other phone didn't work. But, you know, I didn't wait to get a nice camera. I actually do have a pretty good camera, which my child broke recently. So I'm back to my phone. But, you know, if I waited to get the money to buy a more expensive camera, then I would just be waiting as opposed to just getting started. So start with what you have. I also at one time felt like I wanted to design a better website. So I was gonna have to learn how to use Elementor to build a site on WordPress, which was just taking more time away from me getting started. Yeah, it would be more cost effective for me to do it like that. But how much money am I losing by not starting the business, right? So just start where you are. What you will lose in whatever it was you were trying to achieve, you will make up for in exposure, practice. So don't put so much pressure on yourself to have certain things or even do it at the exact right time, because there's no time like the present. I remember sometimes when I want to do something, I think of all these other things that should be in place before I do it. And then I inevitably become too bogged down or too, the job becomes too big and I don't do anything. So if I just start with what I have and what I know how to do, then I can just get started and move on. My last piece of advice for anyone wanting to start a business in 2022 is to pick a time frame and commit to it. You're going to have to commit in order to see the waves through. I would say, depending on how much it's costing you to run the business, you know, give it 6 months. Now 6 months, that's like you're running an online business that doesn't cost you hundreds or thousands of dollars to run a month and a lot of time. You know, if it's just something that you can do that doesn't really cost a lot, take 6 months and see how it goes. But I think too often we aren't committed to a long enough time frame that we would naturally see an ebb and flow, or that we would naturally see a success or an outcome before we can decide if it's good or bad. I don't know if that whole sentence made sense, but like we often aren't committed long enough to have given ourselves a chance to succeed or fail. So it's important to commit and say, you know what, no matter what happens before June 1st, I will not quit. I'm just going to keep going hard and I'm just going to keep my head down and keep working. I think that's really important because a lot can happen. Entrepreneurship can be hard and it can be disappointing and frustrating. You have a lot of setbacks. You can have a lot of missteps. You can have a lot of reasons to quit. So if you tell yourself, I'm not going to quit until this amount of time has happened, then you have a better chance of making it through those inevitable challenging times. Or you'll have a great start and then things will fall off and you're like, oh, people aren't actually interested, or why did my business drop off or whatever. And you want to quit because you think you've seen success and failure, but really you're just seeing like a business cycle. So you got to commit before you call it quits. Okay, I feel like that was some good advice. I would have loved to take that advice. If you want more advice from me, you can subscribe to my channel. If you have any questions or any advice of your own, you can leave me a comment. I think about this stuff all the time. I don't know I'm sure I'll start some sort of business in 2022, but until I figure that out, I will just be talking about what I'm learning and what I have learned thus far in my journey. As of right now, I'm on day 1,226 of my entrepreneurship journey. So a lot has happened and there's a lot more to happen. But I'm glad I got to talk to you about this today. And I wish you luck on your business in 2022. Thank you for watching, and until next time.